So first question I have for you, what does Scala offer developers that other languages can't?
The biggest thing is that it's a hybrid object functional language. So there's plenty of object-oriented languages out there. That's, I think, the way most people are comfortable programming. There's plenty of functional languages out there which maybe aren't as well known or people don't have as much firsthand experience. But languages like Haskell, Lisp, most people are exposed to these, at least in a computer science course at some point. What Scala does is kind of brings those together in a really practical way so that day to day you're using the best of OOP and you're using the best of FP and it's actually helping you get work done. That's really what sets it apart.
So is it primarily an alternative to Java?
I think it's an alternative to languages that you'd want to build kind of reliable systems in. So Java is one of those. There's a version of Scala that runs on the .NET CLR, so in that sense I suppose it can be an alternative to C#. And people coming from a C++ background I think would find that it also has the breadth of a language like that.
So what are some of the most common uses?
So people have been using it for back-end systems. So information retrieval, log aggregation, chat servers, that kind of thing. Anything that requires a fair amount of concurrency, some kind of heavy lifting, that's a sweet spot for it. But the name Scala comes from scalable language. So it's supposed to scale up from little script-like programs all the way up to these really big systems. And I think it does that pretty effectively.
Now, shifting gears a little bit, although related, you're also the co-organizer of the Emerging Languages Camp here at OSCON.
Right.
I was wondering if you could share some of the most interesting languages on the schedule.
Sure. So I think definitely a standout is the Frink language. It's for scientific calculations, and it has a number of units built into it. And so you can do all this complex unit math where you're converting between light years and fluid ounces and all this craziness. It's very flexible syntactically and just really innovative. There's a great language called Ioki that kind of borrows from Lisp and Smalltalk and a lesser known language called IO, kind of brings all those together in this experiment on writing a language for the JVM. I think that's going to be really interesting from the perspective of people who are trying to figure out how to build their first language, because it's very much something that its author has put together kind of on nights and weekends. And then there's great languages kind of along the more practical end, like Go. So language coming out of Google that's kind of meant to be a successor to C for building big systems, and we're going to get to peek under the hood a little bit. So
excellent. So last question I have for you, what do you think it is that compels people to create their own languages? What brings them to do that?
I think essentially it's a combination of being so frustrated with the other tools out there and kind of having enough hubris to think that you can do a better job. I think people sit down and they just say, well, I could spend 3 weeks trying to get these other tools to do what I want to do, or I could sit down and spend those 3 weeks at least getting myself part of the way there, and then I'll have a tool that I really know inside out. I think that's part of what pushes people forward.
Interesting. Great. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it.